I don't know how hot I have my Nandos because my staff get them for me, but I think it's probably sort of medium to fairly. Hi, I'm James May from FoodTribe, and you've come to the wrong place because this is FoodTribe. And I'm now going to answer some questions about food. That has to be homemade pickles and chutney. Because here's the scene, you go around someone's house, it's a sunny day, and they get out some cheddar cheese and a loaf of bread and some lettuce, a ploughman's lunch basically. And you say, oh, have you got any Branston I could have with that? Because Branston is the world's finest pickle. But then they will say, oh no, you must try my homemade ragwort and dog's egg chutney. And then you're in a difficult situation because you can't say, no, that's going to taste like camel phlegm. I want Branston because it's much better. You can't say that to someone who's made their own chutney, so you have to have it and the food is ruined. And there are going to be people listening to this and they say, oh yeah, but you haven't tried my homemade pickled Nikes or whatever. And I haven't, but I know it's not as good as Branston, which has been developed over many, many decades by food scientists, and it's excellent. Stop making chutney. It's horrible. I hope I'm not a foodie because I do find foodism a little bit pretentious. The thing I really hate is people go, oh, I love food, as if there are people who don't like it. I mean, go and find some people who haven't got any food and ask them if they love food. You'll find that they do. Do you mean like one of those things that's served in an earthenware dish, which has just got a sort of puff pastry top?
Yes.
I don't know what you call that, but it's not a pie. It's not a pie unless it's pie all the way around and a bit soggy on the bottom. And I always serve my Chipshot pies upside down, which is a very northern thing, I think. But somehow having the really crusty top bit at the bottom and the soggy bottom bit at the top, I don't know, it's just satisfying when you put the knife in. It goes through the soggy bit, then it goes ka-chunk as it goes through the, what do you call the top of a pie? The lid. I do like Nandos. I've only started eating Nandos recently and only very occasionally, but it became the treat sort of Friday lunchtime food of the Grand Tour office last year. It's a sort of posh Kentucky Fried Chicken, isn't it? And Kentucky Fried Chicken, I believe, are fighting back with something like vegan chicken or something like that, but Nandos, no, pretty good. I don't know how hot I have my Nandos because my staff get them for me, but I think it's probably sort of medium to fairly. I think I probably have hot. It's quite spicy, but it doesn't have me, running around. This is an opportunity to say something very pretentious about purple sprouting broccoli or Stilton, but it's chicken and mushroom. Penne al pesto, because I can make that myself. It's actually very good fun to make pesto because you only need a few ingredients. You need the basil leaves, the pine nuts, a bit of cheese, a bit of olive oil, a little bit of garlic if you want it. And you don't really have to worry about the exact proportions. You can stick as many basil leaves as you happen to have in your zizzer thing, and then you can just sort of put the other bits in and zizz it a bit and have a look and zizz it, put a bit until it sort of looks right. And if it looks right, it generally tastes okay because you can't really mess it up unless you accidentally throw an anchovy in it or something. And actually even that wouldn't ruin it. That would probably taste okay. Well, my favourite kitchen utensil has to be, as I've said it so many times, the mouli grater. Mine I've had since I was a student, so that's since 1981. It's been restored twice. I made a new pin for the pivot on the lid bit on my own lathe, and I reshaped one of the grating wheels. There are 3 attachments that come with it. I reshaped one of those myself in the workshop, so it's very close to my heart. And it is a fabulous device, the mouli grater, because you can't really improve on it as a cheese grater. Even, you can have a cheese grating attachment for your what do you call that transparent thing that goes, food processor, yes, thank you. But it's still not as good, it just makes a mess. The mouli grater, and the cheese comes out, you don't grate your thumb, and when you finish whatever it is you're doing with grated cheese, so carbonara or your pesto or whatever, you lift the lid and you take the wheel out, and there's a little piece of cheese in the bottom, and that's yours. Oh God, yes. You haven't seen my cooking, have you? Definitely. I tend to regard cooking, which I don't do all the time, but I do it sort of reasonably regularly. Cooking is a way of moderating drinking, actually, because there's things you have to do with your hands which stops you simply drinking non-stop. You can't really do drinking and woodworking, it's too dangerous, or drinking and obviously driving or flying aeroplanes or operating machine tools, but you can drink and cook, and the act of cooking and having to cut things up and mix things up sort of is a natural break on your drink consumption. No. I tend to match what I'm cooking to what I'm drinking, actually. Everybody does this. You know, you go out to the pub or you go clubbing or whatever and you come home and you've had a few. You then choose something from your, in my case, what I call the cupboard of plenty, the sort of bug-out food place, because you've got the munchies. You didn't think about that before you went out and thought, I'll drink tonight according to that tin of beans and sausages I'm going to have when I get home. It's always the other way around, isn't it? Favourite wine, that's a really difficult one. I'd like to claim I have a very complex cellar, but I don't. I think it's sort of what I've got. We have 2 house wines at home. We have 3 actually. We have a Riesling and a Sancerre. These are just ones that I can buy in boxes and I get a bit of a discount. And they're not cheap plonk, but they're not really expensive. And then we have a Shiraz that I buy regularly, but these are sort of, they're not cooking wines. They are in that I drink them when I'm cooking, but they're stock. Ooh. If I go to the pub, because I fancy a beer, I will normally drink what we would call an ale. Now, a brown beer, as Jeremy would delight in saying. I think if you have spicy foods, lager can be good. It's why lager is very popular in Indian restaurants. There is a good reason for that. It's not entirely a plot, because lager makes you want a curry, and curry makes you want a lager, so it's a perfect business model. Cold, slightly fizzy lager, slightly creamy lager, like some of the Indian ones, like Kingfisher, that goes very well with sort of spicy, highlighted flavours. Pretension alert. Beer and a curry, lager with curry, bitter with fish and chips, there you go. Now, pot noodles. As a much younger man, I never quite bought into the pot noodle thing. They were, the most convenient food ever, because it's easier than making a cup of tea in the cup, making a pot noodle. You simply go like that. The hardest thing is waiting for the 3 minutes whilst they sort of cook. I didn't really like them because I thought they tasted sort of just too plastic, but in later years I discovered real pot noodles that you get from places like Korea, some Japanese ones, some Thai ones, some genuine Chinese ones. You can buy these now in interesting supermarkets. There's a place down the road from me where I live, which is ostensibly a Thai supermarket, but they also do lots of other sort of Asian stuff, and there are some fabulous pot noodles. Some of the Korean ones are really superb, and at the party ones I bought about 8 of those shin cup ones, which are quite sort of hot and spicy, and I simply made them up and then transferred them into rather ethnic looking bowls that I bought in Japan and served them to people, and they went, "This is genius, James, I had no idea you could do this." I think if you want to experiment jazzing things up, you have to start with baked beans, a tin of baked beans, which is the sort of the hardcore of lonely single person's cooking, if you like. You can buy a tin of beans with sausages in. You can buy some of those all-day breakfasts, which are essentially a tin of beans with a few chunks of hash brown and the odd mushroom in. But if you start yourself with a tin of beans, you can then say have beans and mushrooms, beans and sausages. You can have beans and various vegetables. I've had beans with spring onions in. I've even had beans with celery. And you can cook the other ingredient. Put the beans on. The beans just heat up. You can add a bit of sauce or pepper or whatever to improve the beans, but add your spices and herbs and interesting things to the other thing you're adding. Maybe you're going to fry some onion and add it, so try adding 1 or 2 spices from your Asian cooking cupboard, and then add those to the beans and experiment, because at most you will ruin a tin of beans. That would have to be Indian. I think it's probably vegetable biryani, because that's a complete curry experience. You get rice and you get curried vegetables with all the flavours, and you get a bit of vegetable curry that goes with it. My local place does a little sort of raita with it as well, and you get a poppadom and you get a piece of bread. So it's delicious. But I also, to be honest, I like bread and a dal. Lentils, the enemy. I think that's great. It does make you guff appallingly though. I've tried veganism. I managed to sustain vegetarianism for about 7 or 8 months before it made me ill. Veganism, I think, is really, really difficult. If I'm really honest, I've got quite a few vegetarian and vegan friends. I think in the future humankind will give up eating meat. It'll certainly give up eating mammals. I think that's going to happen pretty soon. I think it might happen in my lifetime. I just think I don't want to start sounding all right on, but I think it genuinely isn't sustainable. I've also got some cow friends now down in the countryside, and I go and talk to them in the field next to our house, and I look into their eyes and I think they do know me. I wouldn't eat my cat. Why would I eat the cow? But I am weak. And a cheeseburger is bloody nice. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you developed a taste for FoodTribe. Why not like, comment, subscribe, I don't know what the sign for that is, turn on notifications. See you next time.